Hello, and welcome to the National Network for Youth webinar on Congressionally Directed Spending, the return of earmarks to the Senate. My name is Darla Bardine. I'm the Executive Director of the National Network for Youth, and I'm going to be sharing with you about how community-based nonprofits and schools can access the $1.4 trillion in discretionary spending for fiscal year 2022. If you're not familiar with the National Network for Youth, we are on a mission to transform systems so that no young person in America experiences homelessness. We do this by partnering with young people with lived experience of homelessness through our National Youth Advisory Council, as well as educating the public about the issue of youth homelessness and advocating for transformation through our policy advocacy so that we can really implement solutions that moves us closer to preventing and ending homelessness among youth in America. We also provide training and technical assistance to organizations, communities, and states around effective strategies that center youth and share power with youth so we truly can see an end to homelessness among youth. We are a membership organization. We do partner with over 300 community-based youth service providers through our members and their affiliates, and we encourage all organizations and members to join us by becoming a member. So this is what I'm going to talk about. First, I want to talk about what is new about earmarks, what's the process, what are the requirements, what can be funded, and then we're going to give you some advice based on conversations that we've been having with staffers on the Hill who are very embedded in the earmarks process in the Senate, and some tips based on these conversations, what they recommend, how to get the ball rolling, how to truly get some of this $1.4 trillion to your communities so you can truly move the needle on preventing and ending youth and young adult homelessness. So earmarks are back. As folks may or may not know, earmarks are a way where a member of Congress can give money directly to their constituents, to their community. So if it's in the House, it's to their district. In the Senate, it's to their state. They were banned in 2011 because there was a lot of concerns and critique that it was, government pork, wasteful spending. There were political means to, how the money was spent. And so earmarks went away in 2011. They are now back. They came back to the House a few months ago, and they are now back in the Senate, with deadlines for members of Congress to get their requests into the Appropriations Committee in the end of June or beginning of July. And I'm going to talk more about that later. So these are the rules that the senators must comply with that are from the U.S. Senate Appropriations Committee. And so it's important for you to know these rules, because if you really want to advance an earmark request with your senators, these are the Senate rules that U.S. senators have to comply with. These rules are from the U.S. Senate Appropriations Committee, and it's important for you to know what the rules are so you can determine, if this is something you want to pursue, if you qualify, and how the process will work. So some of the rules, there's a rule around transparency. Every request will be made public. So anything you submit could be made available to the public so that anybody could read it and access it. And it has to be publicly available before the Senate Appropriations Committee votes on those spending requests. All requests have to be in writing. So if the senators have to submit their request in writing, that means you need to put everything you're requesting, all the details in writing to your Senate office. Now, what every Senate office requires to be in writing varies based on the subcommittee. So you definitely want to work closely with your Senate office so you know what information you need to put in writing and what format they prefer it to be in. There's also a ban for for-profits. So if you're a nonprofit or a state and local government, you are eligible, as well as school districts, state education agencies, and local education agencies, but not an individual school, which I'll get into that later. Also, all senators have to verify and certify that they themselves or any immediate family member would not benefit in any way financially if that congressionally directed spending, CDS request, was granted, and that they have no financial interest in the projects that they are requesting. Also, the Government Accountability Office is an independent federal agency. They are going to be providing oversight. And so they will be auditing a random sample of successfully enacted, so approved spending requests. And then also there is a 1% cap. So no more than 1% of discretionary spending in the federal government can go towards congressionally directed spending. And that includes in the Senate and the House. Now, that's still a lot of money. That's still $1.4 trillion that are on the table in funding going directly to communities, directly from your member of Congress, directly to your organization. The details of what can be funded through CDS in the Senate is a little bit different than the House. The Senate just didn't release nearly as much detail as the House did in terms of which projects and what are allowable uses of expenditures under the Senate Earmarks or CDSs. So there are allowable funding requests, so it's limited. It's not anything you want, any idea you have. It has to fit into one of the buckets or categories. I do have hyperlinks here of where you can get more information. So if your request falls within the Department of Labor, the Department of Health and Human Services, or within the Department of Education, then the deadline that your senators have to comply with is July 8th, 2021. That's when they have to get their requests in the internal Appropriations Committee, which they have an online form that they have to comply with. So their deadline to you is going to be before that, so that they have all the information that they need so that they can meet that deadline. And then if your request falls within the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and specifically within the Economic Development Initiative within HUD, then their deadline is June 23rd to submit. So again, your deadline for your senators is going to be before June 23rd so they can meet their deadline. So let's get into what by federal agency, what we know about some allowable uses of funds. So within the Department of Labor, under the Employment and Training Administration, Training and Employment Services, all projects must include direct services to individuals to enhance employment opportunities, must demonstrate evidence of a linkage with a state or local workforce investment system, and include an evaluation component. Equipment purchases may be included, but only if it's incidental to the entire project. Similar with curriculum development, that's allowable if it is necessary to the overall project. The funds cannot be used for construction or renovation of facilities. Within the Department of Health and Human Services, and specifically within the Administration for Children and Families, there are three categories that the request must fall under. One is child abuse prevention, to improve the prevention, assessment, identification, and treatment of child abuse and neglect through research, model service improvement, information dissemination, and technical assistance. Projects must serve or target abused and or neglected children and their families. The second allowable use is social services research and demonstration to promote the ability of families to thrive through financial self-sufficiency and to promote the healthy development and greater well-being of children and families. Project can serve a diverse population, including low-income individuals, children, youth, families, individuals with developmental disabilities, and Native Americans. These funds cannot be used for construction or renovation of facilities. Also within the Department of Health and Human Services is SAMHSA. So the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Program can support three different programs. One is mental health, to promote the prevention or treatment of mental health disorders, including rehabilitation, outreach, and other supportive services. Second, substance abuse treatment, to improve access, reduce barriers, and promote high quality, effective treatment and recovery services. Third is substance abuse prevention, to prevent the onset of illegal drug use, prescription drug misuse, and alcohol misuse and abuse, and underage alcohol, and tobacco use. Within the Department of Education, and specifically within the Innovation and Improvement Fund for the Improvement of Education, elementary and secondary education congressionally directed spending can be designated for a wide variety of elementary and secondary education projects, including instructional services, after-school centers, curricula development, teacher training, acquisition of books and computers, arts education, social and emotional learning activities, full-service community schools, and early childhood education. In general, the focus of elementary and secondary education should be in providing early childhood or K-12 education services, and requests must specify what the purpose of the congressionally directed spending would be. Basically, what's your intent? Where would you be spending your money? And it needs to fall into one of those buckets, which are pretty broad. Also within the Innovation and Improvement Fund for the Improvement of Education, you can provide and improve special education services at the elementary and secondary education levels. It may include intervention services for infants and toddlers, transition services, and post-secondary education services. Eligible grantees are state education agencies, school districts, colleges and universities, and other public and private nonprofit entities. Generally, this funding is not directed to an individual school, but again, it would be to the district or the SEA in which the school resides. These funds cannot be used for construction or renovation of school buildings, except in the case of minor remodeling required as part of technology upgrades. Daycare and childcare projects that do not include educational services are not eligible. Still within the Department of Education, under rehabilitation services, demonstration, and training, congressionally directed spending can be designated under this heading for a wide variety of projects that further the purposes of the Rehabilitation Act, including by providing individuals with disabilities with education, training, support services, and independent living services. Generally, these funds should focus on improving access to or the quality of services for individuals with disabilities. This includes, eligible grantees include state vocational rehabilitation agencies, community rehabilitation programs, Indian tribes or tribal organizations, or other nonprofit, public or nonprofit agencies and organizations. CDS cannot be used for construction or renovation of facilities. I think the last one within the Department of Education is higher education, fund for the improvement of post-secondary education. So within this bucket, funds can be used for a wide variety of higher education projects. Generally, requests should focus on improving access to or the quality of post-secondary education. Examples of types of projects that can be funded under FIPSE, the Fund for Improvement of Post-Secondary Education, include projects to hire and train faculty, establish and improve degree programs, improve teacher preparation programs, develop and improve curricula, upgrade technology and telecommunications, acquire science laboratory equipment, provide student support, implement university partnerships with school districts, and establish research and training centers. Grantees are usually colleges and universities, but may include other public and private nonprofit organizations. These funds cannot be used for construction or renovation of academic buildings, except in the case of minor remodeling required as part of technology upgrades. Within the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and specifically within the Economic Development Initiative, you can have requests that are for eligible funds under Chapter 69 of Title 42 U.S. Code. So this is within the Community Development Block Grant. And they didn't release a lot of guidance, but if it's an allowable use of funds within the Community Development Fund account, then that can be a Senate designated spending project. You will need to provide a justification. So this is interesting information they provided. So you will need a description of all other sources of funding that would be contributing to the total cost of the project, and the status and planning of an environmental work review, and in addition to include relevant data on how activities or projects will primarily benefit low and moderate income individuals or families. And I do want to link, if it's available, to the website that talks about the HUD 5-year consolidated plan or the annual action plan if the project is included or complements planned or current projects within these required plans. So how does it work? So the process for congressionally directed spending is you speak to your member of Congress, in this case, your senator. You need to work with your senator, see if one, they are advancing congressionally directed spending request. If your proposal is within the framework of allowable uses within CDS. If so, they will tell you what are the requirements, what do they need from you, what do you need to get to your Senate office, what the deadline is for them internally. And then if you meet all their requirements and all their deadlines, then they will forward or put forth your request to the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee. Again, anything that you give is likely to become public. It has to become public if your senator does advance that. So we encourage you to look at your U.S. Senate website, try to determine if your project is eligible, reach out to your senators now. During the meeting, get clear on next steps, requirements, deadlines, and know that you're going to need to continue to advocate for your request. There are many people who are reaching out to your senators across your state, asking them to advance their requests. So these are our tips for preparing strong projects. Senators are going to be most eager to put forth projects that have strong local support and well-documented potential benefits, and projects that are close to as ready to start as possible. However, there is no perfect project, so don't wait or not talk to your senator or try to get funding because you're trying to think of the perfect project. So some tips. One, think of practicalities. What's the timeline for your project? Is it ready to begin? What documented public safety, health, or educational benefits can you provide to the Senate office? Some economics to consider. How many and what kind of jobs would this project create and for how long? What are the economic benefits to the region, the city, or the state? What is the estimated impact on the local tax base? And again, you don't have to have answers to all of these, but these are some things to think about, some potentially helpful talking points with your Senate office. And also, is the project located in a disadvantaged or underserved area, or will it specifically support an underserved low-income population? Also, consider the politics. How much are non-federal entities such as state or local governments, private donors, contributing to the project? Do regional, local governments, businesses, and residents support this project? Can you demonstrate that with letters? Do other members of Congress support the project? Also, identify and develop a champion or champions. Beyond preparing a strong proposal, applicants will boost their bids for an earmark by securing bipartisan and bicameral congressional champions willing to put their name to these proposals. For larger regional projects, obviously your pool of potential champions grows. Finally, prepare for the long haul. The earmark and appropriations process is a year-long cycle requiring months of advocating and pushing to maximize your chances for success. Having strong local support of supporters of your project willing to advocate will help. We have resources in our resource center. We have recorded videos about the House earmarks process. Also on our website, we do have a fact sheet in our resource center that has a lot of this information in writing in more detail with hyperlinks to the actual appropriations documents that I mentioned during this video. And we also have a Take Action Center. You can stay up to date with all the legislation that we're supporting and trying to get through Congress and to the president's desk for a signature. We encourage you to get involved with us. Changing policies truly is systemic change and will help us create a future where all young people have a safe place to call home. If you're wondering who your senators are or your House representative, we do have a legislator lookup tool on our website under our policy section, so check it out and get the information that you need. I thank you so much for tuning in for our webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, darla.bardine@nnforyouth.org or member@nnforyouth.org. I get those emails too. And good luck. Thank you for partnering with the National Network for Youth.